If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shigarian and Mike Brady.
Welcome back to Green is Good, and we're so honored today to have on the line with us Russ Widmar, who is the Director of Aviation at Fresno Yosemite International Airport. He's been there about 7 years, but more importantly, last year he received the J. Hollingsworth Spees Award, which is a national award presented once a year to the person or persons who have judged to have contributed most outstandingly to have achieved compatible relationships between airports and adjacent environments. Welcome to Green is Good, Russ Widmar.
Well, thank you very much, John.
You know, Russ, I go through your airport literally twice a week, minimally, maybe even more sometimes. Yes, I was just through it again yesterday in the morning and back again at night. You run a beautiful facility, and it's just, you've made so many improvements over the last 7 years, given that I travel so much on business. So I want to say thank you for that as a consumer, but more important, as a denizen of Fresno, California, you have done some remarkable things at Fresno Yosemite Airport that have to do with the environment, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I just want to start by saying thank you, and also talk a little bit about coming to Fresno and how you got started in this whole greening of FYI.
Well, it's more of an industry movement than a personal one. It's something that airports and airlines actually have gotten conscious of, along with the general public, and so for us, with the poor air quality in this area of California, almost anything that we can do that would improve the air would be something we would want to do anyway. And so we have just found ways to incorporate green into our departmental mindset. We have a consciousness about existing regulations, and the city provides the policy direction that we implement. You know, basically, in the end, we don't even discuss this anymore. We just include green in our project planning, and that's one of the things that Monoxy does that I introduced you to just earlier.
So it's a DNA thing, you're saying, at Fresno Yosemite International Airport now.
It's become that way, yes.
But when you came here 7 years ago, before the green revolution had really taken off in the United States, had you been inspired by other directors of aviation at other airports, or you had traveled extensively and worked at many other airports prior? Did you already start seeing an undercurrent moving in this direction? Because you've done amazing things here, and we're going to get into that in a little while, talk about your solar project and other things. But, I mean, is this all airports now doing it, and all the directors are now combining resources and technologies and sharing best practices among all the directors across the country?
Well, we are, and that's a very good way to put it. But this goes way back. Frankly, when I was in Salt Lake City in the late 90s, we built we realized that glycol was becoming quite a problem for the environment, and built I think it was a $5 or $6 million glycol recycling plant on the airfield. So glycol is used on aircraft wings and fuselage, all the surfaces of an airplane, really, to remove snow and ice and to prevent ice from building up until the aircraft gets in the air.
Got it.
So we did that at Salt Lake, and we had the same issue in Kansas City where I worked, and we used a different approach there because it was a slightly smaller airport with a little less revenue capability, but still the problem was the same, and we solved it in a different way quite effectively. So coming here was, for me, it was just a simple matter of continuing on what we were already doing at other places where I had worked.
Well, Russell, you had mentioned, too, that you had talked about your assistant, Monoxy, saying now Monoxy brings her own experience, too, as well. What are some of the places where Monoxy has worked, and were her experiences at airports in different climates a good marriage, if you will, to bring together here at Fresno Yosemite International?
Well, Monoxy actually did not come from another airport. She's gotten all of her airport experience on the job with us.
Wow.
But the thing is that she has she's an architect and a planner. And by the way, for those Sooner fans out there, she's a graduate of the University of Oklahoma. But she came from actually from downtown City Hall. But what we found was an energy and an interest in the kinds of things we were doing. And so we've just sort of made her our green guru. And a lot of the things that we're doing now are, and our participation in national initiatives are being carried by her personally.
Got it. I understand. So let's go into, before we talk about a lot of things that can be done, let's talk about one of your great projects that have been a massive success, your energy project, your solar energy project at the airport. Talk about how that came to being, how the construction and the installation went, and now in the rearview mirror, how the results have become with that solar energy project.
Well, this started out as a small project as part of our consolidated rental car facility, which I hope you have seen. It exists along Clinton Avenue, just on the west side of the terminal building. It started as an opportunity to put about a half a megawatt of solar energy power on the rooftop canopies of the car covers in the ready return lot just outside of baggage claim. One thing led to another, and smart people started doing some serious thinking about this and decided that the time was ripe to do something very serious, and expanded the project to a point where we ended up forming a major partnership with Pacific Gas and Electric, who provided the incentives, the financial incentives, a company called World Water and Solar Technology out of New Jersey, who provided the financing and the technical expertise, and the airport, who provided 20 acres of property that we had no other use for. It was actually being used by Gallo, and I think as just a place to dry, put water, I think. And I actually don't remember, I'm sorry. But in any event, it had no use, and Gallo paid us about $1 a year to use that property. It was in an area of the airport that we could not build on because of the flight restrictions over the property. We could build something low, but we couldn't build anything higher than a few feet. So
right.
It became a very attractive parcel for us, and the project grew into 4.2 megawatts when we were done. And it has been a very, very good partnership amongst the three partners. Secondarily, for us, it gave us a real industry leadership position in aviation. We are the largest solar project at any airport in the country, and to our knowledge, we are the largest in the world.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, before we go, and I want to talk more about that leadership position, but let's go back and walk through the analysis of building, stepping forward and building the solar project. How much did it cost? How did you understand, what is the ROI? And are the numbers really in hindsight, are the numbers working out the way you wanted them to?
Oh, that's a great question. I hope I can remember all of these pieces. The project itself was a $16 million investment by World Water and Solar Technologies.
Okay.
We gave them free use of the land for 20 years. At the end of the 20 years, the facility will revert to our ownership.
Wow.
Our put into this was that we agreed to put the land in, and then we agreed to buy every ounce of power that was produced by the solar farm,
right,
for 20 years.
Great.
Under the terms of a fixed rate for 20 years. We have flat rate power for 20 years off that facility, and we're using 2 power purchase agreements, which met Pacific Gas and Electric's requirements. Originally, we put out a request for proposal, came up with 3 proposers, and we baselined everything against what it would cost us to continue to purchase our power from Pacific Gas and Electric. World Water and Solar Technologies blew everybody away, including PG&E, and that's not a criticism of PG&E. It's just a statement of fact that their creativity and willingness to get creative turned at what we thought would be about a $13 million savings in our electrical consumption over a 25-year life. So that's the way we went into the project. What's happened since then is, and we thought we would break even on our rates in about 3.5 years, and what we found was that the system produced more electricity than we had thought.
Wow.
It produced it at the right time of the day, so we're not buying any of our power at peak rates anymore.
Wow.
And we are now going to save something on the order of $17 million over 25 years. And we broke even in the first year.
Wow, that's incredible. And Russ, now when you did the projections going out at PG&E rate, did you also figure in a percentage of increase? Because that's got to factor in there somewhere. I mean, it makes it even smarter for you to be able to lock in a flat rate for the next 20 years, right?
Yes, we did. We used the historical rate increase of PG&E and projected it forward without any increase or decrease in that projected rate, and we came up with $13 million. And then when something happened that we didn't even foresee, and that was that we would produce so much power during the peak times of the day, the peak sun periods of the day, that we couldn't even use it all ourselves. And so in the end, with all of the factors combined, we added another $4 million in savings. And if PG&E exceeds their anticipated rate increases over the years, we'll even save more.
So wait a second now, Russ. Help Mike and I out here and all our great listeners. So if I'm the director of aviation at any airport USA now, and I read about or hear about or listen to the story here on Green is Good, what would be the impediment, as for me doing the same type of deal that you just outlined for all of us?
Well, I think that you have to be geographically located properly to achieve the kind of results that we do. Obviously, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, California have a lot of sun.
Right.
This would not work as well in Ohio or New York necessarily, because you lose the entire sun in the winter. But we don't. We're producing electricity when the sun is up all the time, all year long.
Wow.
And if you don't have that benefit, you will not achieve what we achieved.
Got it.
But I can tell you that we have been approached by airport directors as far away as Guam and Hawaii in the west, and Puerto Rico and Florida in the east.
Wow.
So people are looking at this very carefully.
So truly, Fresno Yosemite International Airport is truly a green and solar leader, and others are going to follow this model where it makes geographic sense.
That's correct.
So are there any other solar projects that you're looking at, or are we done on solar and you're going to be looking at other type of green projects, and what do they look like?
Well, we're not done with solar.
Oh.
We actually, earlier this week, had a company here for a site visit, and we're exploring more opportunities. 4 sites were shown to this company here at FYI, and 1 at Chandler.
Got it.
And we're hoping that we can do a small project at Chandler that it will make it the first airport in the world that is entirely solar sufficient, self-sufficient.
That's great.
And it wouldn't take much to do that because it's not a big power consumer, but it would be nice to be able to say we did that.
How about other green projects beyond solar? It's become a DNA issue over at your airport. What other things do you consider as the director of aviation that you can make small changes that overall make the airport a more green and great place?
Well, we recycle about 95% of all of our asphalt and concrete when we do paving work.
Oh.
We grind it up. It's part of our contracts. It's all the material that's removed is ground up and reused as base material later on in the same project. So that keeps this material from having to be hauled off to a dump site, new material brought in, so there's a lot of trucking that isn't done. Plus, this makes a lot of sense. And believe it or not, when we do a big project, we get a lot of base material out of it. And sometimes there's even more than we can use, and it's sold on the open market. So that's good. We're also using light-emitting diode lighting on our taxiway systems, very high-tech, saves about 70% when compared against traditional lighting forms. But there's one more thing that I think is that we've done that is really important to talk about, and that is that when we built the consolidated rental car facility, we had several sites that we could use. Actually, we had 3. It needed about 20 acres of property. It couldn't be built where the solar project is built because we couldn't build on there, but we had 3 other sites. One was right next to the terminal building, but that's very prime and expensive real estate, so we had to think very hard whether we would use that or not. And then 2 other sites, one on the west side and one on the east side of the airport, would have required passengers to be bused. Well, we thought it was a no-brainer to site the facility right by the baggage claim so that people would walk out the door and get to their cars.
Right.
There is going to be no busing here now for 30 years. So we have, in a backhanded kind of way, made a very conscious decision, certainly not to make air quality any worse. And when you look at the CO2 savings from not having busing, it works out very favorably for the environment. So there's a good example of how we include in our planning the green issue.
That's a great point. So, like you said, it's not such an overt something as overt as recycling, but you're saving so much of the CO2 emissions that buses would create by just locating the rental area in the right space. So that makes so much sense. And you're right, it is ultra convenient what you've done. I've used that rental facility, and just walking out of the airport, the 20 or 30 yards into the rental area is just a treat. Actually, really well done.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, well done. So Russ, we are obviously still going through economic tough times, not only here in Fresno, but across the United States and probably the world if we were to look at it from a world view. How do you balance sustainability and all the great things that you're doing with economics and the budget crisis that we're faced with here in Fresno and other cities are faced with across the nation? How is that balancing act done by your team on a regular basis?
Well, I think it's not just us, but the vendors that we use and the contractors that we use are very interested in making sure that they don't make things worse either. And really, when you look at the lighting systems that we're using on our airfield now, this doesn't just happen overnight. There are people working on these inventions all over the world all the time. So we do a life cycle analysis and make a quick determination of whether or not it makes sense to use that kind of lighting. It does in every case, so we use it. It's not even expensive to buy. The asphalt and concrete recycling, the contractors that we use are all set up to do this. They have the machinery, so this is not a new concept to them. They're eager to do it. They don't want to truck this stuff all over the place. They don't want to fill our landfills with waste material that's never used again. They like it, we like it, and frankly, we don't even notice the cost differential.
Well, in case you just joined us, our listeners just joined us right now, we're on the phone with Russ Widmar, who is the Director of Aviation for the City of Fresno Department of Airports out at FYI. Russ, you've talked about recycling the asphalt, use of LED lights, the solar farm that has gone in, not using the buses to go from the rental car centers to baggage claim. So you're saving a lot of pollution there. How about water? That is such an issue here in our valley. What are some of the water-saving measures that you've taken at the airport?
We are moving more towards the low water usage landscaping. It may not look like it, but we are. One of the things we're testing right now is the phony grass, fake grass.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure what the proper name of it is, but it's synthetic grass.
Gotcha.
It doesn't require any water. It looks green all the time. It looks like grass. It's 100% recycled material. It's a nice concept. I think we'll use more of it when the price becomes more competitive with real grass.
So, Russ, so that will be one of the ways to save the water over there.
It is, but we also we make sure that we don't waste any water either at the consolidated rental car facility. We've put the highest technology equipment in for the car washes and that sort of thing. That water gets recycled.
Also, I noticed, having, like I said, I use your airport at least twice a week. Also, I realize in the bathrooms there, it's all water saving technology that you have going there too.
It is.
Yeah, it's well done. So, so here's just a little thing I just want to, share with our listeners. So I got off the plane last night, and it's been a long day. Started early in the morning going through your airport and come home, and now it's sort of 7, 8 o'clock at night. And one of the things that you've done so well there, Russ, that you've humanized Fresno Yosemite Airport, International Airport, with regards to your Sense of Place project. Not only were there at least 3 or 4 Christmas trees that I passed by as I walked out of the airport last night, but also the permanence that you have with the giant sequoias that you've put inside. Share with our listeners a little bit as we wind down the show here, your Sense of Place project and how you've really made the Fresno Yosemite International Airport a more welcoming and warm environment than you found it 7 years ago.
Well, this is a source of personal pride with me. I've been in the industry a long, long time, and I've worked all over the world. The thing that I've noticed about airports is they're sterile, they're bland. There's not a lot of life other than the movement of people around in the facility. And not many of them have made a clear and direct connection with the surrounding community. I think the best example before Fresno, before we did what we did, was the new Vancouver airport. But nothing in the United States, I think, compares with what we've done. We've got 3 great national parks that surround Fresno. They're all very unique, led by the uniqueness of the sequoia trees. And I had gone to Mariposa Grove in Yosemite shortly after arriving here, and I got very interested in those trees, and I must have 1,000 pictures of them that I've taken over the years. It just gave me an idea that we could maybe find an artist somewhere that shared the vision of creating a forest in the terminal building that would also be functional. Inside the trees that you see in the terminal are columns that support the roof. I'm not sure anybody knows that, but they're there, and they'll always be there. And so we thought, why not do something very, very artistic that was really reflective of the community and clad those columns with these giant Yosemite, the giant sequoia trees. And so we did. We found an artist in San Diego, and they have done, in my opinion, a magnificent job. They shared our vision. We said we wanted Disney quality. We wouldn't accept anything less. And I think they produced something that is very, very positive. And the feedback from the community has been almost 100% positive.
Well, the feedback from here at GreenIsGood is also 2 thumbs up. Well done, really beautiful, and just makes it feel like when you get off the plane, you're home.
I'm glad you feel that way.
Hey, Russ, we're down, unfortunately, to the last minute, and you are just, your story's amazing. Your experience and the breadth of knowledge that you have is really voluminous. Can you pass on the last minute or so, any last thoughts you have on sustainability and aviation to our listeners, as we're going to have to now move to signing off in the next minute or so?
Well, we're going to continue what we're doing, and in fact, this year. Next year, 2011, we're going to do a sustainability management plan. Monoxy is going to lead that effort for us, and we expect it to do a couple of things. One is to pat us on the back for the things that we have done, and also open the door for us to things that we haven't even thought about doing yet, that might be new and upcoming, that you just, with a small staff, you might miss. So we're going to keep our green stewardship, if you will, going. I think we've done a good job so far. We expect to do better. On the farther term horizon, and not related to the airport, is the use of biofuels by the airlines. And I noticed the other day that Air New Zealand is now going to try a biofuel between New Zealand and Australia on a regular basis. This is the first time it's been done in anything beyond a test mode. So we're seeing that too, and I think that will also help with global air quality.
Well, that's perfect, Russ, and we'd love to have you back on a year from now or so, or sometime in 2011, to share all the progress you're making with your great team at Fresno Yosemite International Airport. Just as another note to our listeners, Russ's job is so important, because sometimes, Russ, as you well know, nothing. You never get a second chance at a first impression, and sometimes the first impression of our great region is Fresno Yosemite International Airport, and you've done a great job making it feel like a welcoming beacon to everyone who comes through it. So thank you for that. Mike and I are so appreciative, as is the whole city of Fresno. Russ Widmar, you are an aviation innovator and leader, and truly living proof that green is good.